A beautiful afternoon to you. Many thanks for joining us on Flipside, and I'm your regular host, Oluije Oyikohai. Today on Flipside, we'll be looking at checkmating the devastating flood in our country, Nigeria. And to do that with us is the person of Professor Raf. He is a professor in the University of Benin. Good afternoon, Professor.
Good afternoon. Good to have you at home.
Okay, and we also have Sanitarian Frank Inenemo, Head Environmental Health Enforcement and Climate Change Desk. Good afternoon, sir.
It's my delight to be here. Thank you very much.
Okay, now this is no news that flood has ravaged so many communities and states in our country, Nigeria. Now, some persons out there, they might be thinking, what is flood? What are the causes of flood? Can flood be averted in our society? Can there be a stop to this trend? Can someone actually survive, especially someone that actually can't swim? Is there a way out when these things actually occur? So we start with our academician, and knowing fully well that some persons out there, they don't actually know the meaning of flood. So we start with our academician, the person of Professor Raf, in asking this question: what is flood?
Yeah, again, good afternoon. You're at home. Flood is occasioned by discharge of excess water from a river into the environment. Okay. It could be a natural cause or artificial, but man-made. When it is natural, it's maybe when the rain is falling, and the excess water from the river could go to the environment. It's artificial when you have a dam.
Okay.
At the upstream, you deliberately open it, the downstream will be flooded. That is man-made. It's not natural. So those are the things that cause flood. Now we have more flooding now in the world because of, we are talking about climate change. I'm happy that somebody who's in the environment is here. So we're talking about climate change. So those are the things. The sea, the ice in the sea, they are melting because of high temperature, and those things could trigger flooding in our environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, as an environmental person and a climate change officer, what would you say is the cause of the recent flood in our country, Nigeria, to our sanitationist, yes, Frank Inenemo?
Well, I align with my co-discussant, Prof. Raf, on his definition,
yes,
which I'm also adopting for the purpose of this discussion. But there are a multiplicity of factors that can precipitate flooding. Well, the issue of most times the natural flooding is attributable to heavy downpour. Okay. That's one. And then thereafter we can start to look at other anthropogenic activities of man. The way a manner we manage our waste, blocked drains. Some of us we build on natural ways, natural waterways. And this again portends danger. What grows around, what comes around, goes around. Water will always find its level. Close to that again, the issue of climate change is very apt now. The Honorable Minister for Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, tried to mask the issue of the release of water from the Lagdo Dam, that was just a 1% thing, which my co-discussant, Prof. Raf, had considered as a factor that can be responsible for artificial flooding. So when people build on natural waterways, we manage our waste lackadaisically, particularly with the non-biodegradable solid waste, otherwise known as refuse, particularly with plastic. These days, everything is more of packaging with plastic and plastic. Maybe the society is being sophisticated. So, and these things over time there's a build-up. And then the issue of climate change and global warming will also result in the smelting of the land-based ice caps. Okay, so when that happens, they find their way to the hydrosphere, which is water bodies, and they swell up. Okay, once that happens, there can be a reverberating effect, and there's a backflow. Okay, and then the rivers are, the surface sources are already over-silted. So siltation of the river, you see, if you pass through water bodies, surface water bodies, during dry season, you see sand. So the siltation, there's need for dredging now. And then where we are now, recently, the Lado Dam release of water. Which I feel somebody somewhere was just trying to play lip service by saying it was just 1%. But you also agree to the rains were heavier even this last October than we even had previously in June, July, and August.
Okay. Now, to Professor Raff. Now, there are some corners that some person says, as you rightly said, because of the downpour, the persistent downpour, and some others said, like you said, Mr. Enenemo, it's a cause of the release of the Lado Dam. I don't know. What is the actual cause of this flooding? We have like how many states right now? 32 states, yes, affected by this flood.
Yes.
So what will you say to you is the main reason, is the main cause of flooding in these affected states?
Yeah, there has been, people are saying, as my colleague just said here, that is from the downpouring from Cameroon. People are saying that, it is a lot of heavy rainfall, downpour. If you look back, this thing happened 10 years ago. So I'm expecting that by this time, the government should come out with a position that this flooding we are now experiencing recently in Nigeria, this is the cause. They have not done that. So I won't be here in the studio and say, oh, it is because of the heavy rain, or it is because of
release of
water from the dam. I can't say it because I don't have I'm not in government. I'm a teacher in university. But what you'll be looking at, you tell us, what you'll be telling now is, now this is what has been causing this flooding. How do we now solve it? The problem?
Okay.
That's the thing we should be talking about. I can see. I have a opportunity of visiting Miami in the US quite a number of times. What I enjoy there is the way they control their water. There's artificial lake everywhere. That artificial lake is water channeled into it. When the excess water coming from the sea, because the house is by the sea, this water go into the artificial lake. And when it is full, there are so many of them that so they contain the water. And as the time the water is retreating, you open the valve, it will start flowing. And if you go there, it's so beautiful that you can even relax there. The hotel I stay behind the hotel. There's one hotel that go there. They do horse race. You go there and stay. You can be seeing the beautiful place. It's just to control water. The Miami is just like places like Lagos. You are behind it, but very close, very by the sea. So that's how they control their excess water coming from the sea. They have problem. They have that kind of problem. Even I've been to Houston too. Tesla. It's the same thing. It's the same method they use. But for example, we have the excess water coming from Cameroon. We go through River Benue. What are we doing to tackle it? If you have artificial dam or what we call artificial reservoir in those areas, we can use it to curtail water. Excess water coming from that axis. Or you can add by other use is for generation of electricity. Benue people can use those reservoirs for irrigation. So those are the things. We have a lot of things because we can use one solution to solve so many problems. But the government, we don't know what they are doing. So
I believe we should ask Sanitarian
yes.
Frank right now, because
he's in government.
Yes, he is in government. Yes. And before I would ask you, what are the measures being put in place to see that there is no reoccurrence another time?
Yes.
Now, first off, what are the causes of this flooding in some of the affected communities? Now, is it as a result of the tropical area? We find that we have 36 states in our country, Nigeria, and we have 32 being affected. So what's the cause? Why these states?
One, I've earlier mentioned human anthropogenic activities.
Okay.
First, people live in waterfronts. Why on earth should people go and live in waterfronts? And secondly, a good number of them refuse to heed earlier warnings.
So were they actually earlier warnings from government?
I can tell you that even this your station played a number of jingles from Edo State government.
Okay.
Warning people in those flood-prone areas in Edo North and Edo's part of Edo Central to evacuate to highlands areas.
Now, did they actually provide the highlands?
I'm coming now.
Okay.
I'm going to allow me to finish.
Okay.
So these are part of the human anthropogenic activities.
Yes.
Okay.
Then we cut down our trees without commensurate replacement.
Okay.
We reduce the surface area for absorption of this water with our interlocking ties and putting concrete in our premises. You see, let me do the devil's advocate here first before talking of
the government.
What government have already or what the government did on. And don't forget, this aspect of our national life is beyond the state government and local governments. It's a matter for the exclusive legislative list by government, which is federal government. So issues of inland waterways is a matter for the exclusive legislative list and not state government. Okay. That's one. Then, how do we, the way and manner we refine our petroleum product, our crude? As I speak to you, I want to really dwell more on the human anthropogenic activity. As I speak to you now, Sir Prof, you agree with me that gas flaring is still on. Yes. Now, burning of fossil fuel is still on. I want to think that there's no place now that you can get power, lights for 24 hours. So people substitute or subsidize with what? Generators. And these generators emit, there's these gaseous emissions. Yeah. Now, these gaseous emissions become heat trappers. They form a blanket. Yes. The irradiated energy can't find their way back. But it allows the direct ultraviolet radiation of sunlight to come in. And the process is the greenhouse effect. And this greenhouse effect portends global warming. So the mankind, we have so degraded the environment, we have so exploited the resources of the environment, we have so exploited the resources of the environment, we have allowed the earth to be left bare by agent of denudations. So we have borrowed of the earth. We are now paying with great interest. The Swahili proverb says, do not borrow of the earth, for you will pay with great interest. We should begin to see our environment as living, because a death of the environment, the ubiquitous environment that is everywhere, a death of the environment, I'm very passionate each time I'm talking about this. Okay. The death of the environment can lead to annihilation of mankind. Okay,
now you actually said the government came out to sensitize the public, especially persons living in that flood-prone area. Now, as a government official, were there steps taken to make sure that these persons leave that particular area?
See, Oluije, our let me use the word in health education, because that was part of health education. Okay. It's more persuasive. Yes. If you use persuasion, if you cannot say, sir, you love your life, you love your health, and then you take the risk of cigarette smoking. I mean, everybody have value for life. Okay. So if the government have taken the bold step to warn you in advance, do you need the government to start policing and using the horsewhip to start pursuing people to leave the place? No. But people refuse to heed, because by the time you start doing that now, you start even the media will start blackmailing government again. Government is doing this now. They are making life unbearable for people. But there was more persuasion up to the last minute. But the people didn't heed, and because they didn't heed, they become victim of this disaster.
Okay.
Because it has become a disaster. Because if it's a hazard, once lives are now involved, it becomes a disaster.
Yes. Okay. But certainly lives were involved.
I said it has become a disaster.
Okay.
A natural disaster.
Now, the 2022 Nigerian flood has affected most of the countries, yes, displaying over 1.4 million people, killing over 600 and injuring more than 200 and, destroying over 2,400 homes. Now, while Nigeria experienced flooding in different parts of our country, Nigeria. Now, we also have the fact that the Delta toll, like we said, 600,000 people were involved in this. Now, over 200,000 hectares of land were also destroyed. Now, looking at 2023, how is our food production going to be in the year 2023?
Do I come in or you want to?
Okay, let's start with our academic.
Yeah, we can see that there will be a serious problem by next year, because what are absolutely taking over all the farmland. In fact, it was getting to the point of harvest when this flood came in. And if you should look at Kogi, look at Benue State, and Bayelsa State, you will see that the land is now underwater. So we are going to have very, very, very big problem with food by 2023. Except if urgent, in fact the water is not even receding now. See, it's still there. It is, and until we find solution to this water issue, we are going to have problem by 2023 in food, and things the cost of living is going to be very, very high, because if you are importing food from other country, you are going to pay more. You understand? Including the fact now, even though that if you are dollarizing it and ordinarizing it, the cost of dollar has increased. So if you are buying things in dollar now, and dollar, I think dollar as of today is 800 and something 20 naira, as it may be, and you are buying food from other countries for us to feed. So things are going to be very difficult. So I hope and wish the government will tackle it.
So Mr. Enenemo?
Yes. Primarily, flooding itself on its own impoverishes the soil. So valuable nutrients have, apart from arable land being destroyed.
Yes.
So it has impoverished the soil, and there's going to be a serious challenge for both national, regional, and global food security. As I speak to you now, when you talk of discharge of water, sufficient enough to cause colossal damage to lives and property, it also impedes vehicular traffic. Okay? Now, as I speak to you, at a point, food could not come from the north, and vice versa. Local job came, people became held up at the other end, coming this way, even with trailer load of diesel of everything, the food that, So there is really a challenge, and more so that it was getting to harvest season.
Yes.
So a lot of rice is going to be a problem, a lot of Ebola. In fact, I was made to understand that some of those areas where this flood, that the ravaged flood areas, people started harvesting prematurely cassava. So that's already a very big problem. But government at the national level, at the federal level, through the National Grain Reserve, I want to think there is a National Grain Reserve, there should be restitution to farmers. in all its ramifications. So for rehabilitation, for enable them, possibly even reduce taxes in some of these implementings that, and organize what you call mechanized arrangement for them, other than this crude way of farming. But the peasant farmers are worth it. So indeed, there's going to be economic problem. There's going to be regional, national, and global food security challenge.
Okay, now someone said there is a benefit as regards this flooding.
Okay, the benefits.
Yes, someone actually said so.
Yes, the two benefits I will quickly respond to. One, you see, like my co-discussant said earlier, you see, the white man has a way of taking advantage on any advanced situation.
Yeah.
That excess water can be so arranged in a way that it can become a tourist attraction. We can generate electricity from that. And then irrigation. Yes. If Mama Gaddafi could turn a desert into arable land, but all we need is political commitment, that political will to say, oh, this is, let's find a way around it. Because there is always two sides to a coin. It's not all bad. The bad may outweigh the good side, but we will try to see how we can make the best out of any bad situation. So irrigation is there, generation of electricity, and then for tourism.
Okay.
Well, let me quickly add.
Yeah.
In this flood that we're talking, there's no benefit.
Okay.
It is I'm very sorry. No. In the present spot we are now, there's no single benefit.
Okay, for this one we are now.
Yeah, no, but there will be benefit in future if we plan for it.
If we plan for it.
Yes.
And be more proactive.
Yes, that's it. Because if you have, okay, now, if you want to design a lake, do we know the volume of water that has spilled into the environment? I don't think they know. And we have the technology and the skill to determine the volume of water that has spilled into our environment at this point in time, whether at high tide or when the water is dried. Are we doing that? Well, it is those parameters we are going to use to design your artificial reservoir. So that when such water is coming, you are sure of
yes, to absorb it.
But are we doing that? No. Everybody's sending food to them. So as sending food, only material. Government is not looking at how do we solve this problem. What data do we need to collect now
to make sure there's no further
and design
so that give us informed position
to fight against it.
Yes. Okay.
Are they doing it? No. Okay. I'm not sure. But you go, I don't understand.
I think the government personnel should be able to tell us.
I started earlier to say that this is beyond state government and local government.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is a matter for the exclusive legislative list. Dams, inland waterways. Go and find out your 1999 constitution as amended. So states can only complement. But the driver at the driver's seat is the federal government. And I'm not an official of the federal government.
All right, we're still here on Flip Side. We'll be right back after the short break. Don't go away. All right, thank you so much for rejoining us. We're looking at the devastating flood in our country, Nigeria, and we still have our discussants in the studio. Now, let's look at the effects of this flooding. I think we'll start with Prof. Letting us know the effects of the flooding that we have in our country, Nigeria, right now.
I think we are discussing some of them, you know, by saying that there will be food scarcity.
Yeah.
And I was able to go to Port Harcourt during this period for a business visit. I couldn't go because the road between Bayelsa axis of this, I could not go. So people from there, they could not come. So it has economic effect because it affected me. Maybe I was going to make one because you know was on strike. So we're looking for how to survive. So has effect on us, affect us economically. You can see at that time, of the flooding, the regular movement was restricted. You cannot move from Lagos Axis to Abuja. So Abuja had no fuel, no diesel, because of the flooding. And our homes. What happened to our home when the flood finally recedes?
Yes.
What would happen to our homes?
The water would take it.
Yes. The water has taken it, but what happened to it? Would they go there and go to sleep on that the way it is? Will the government or individual arrange for fumigation? Because you can be sleeping in the room. One pattern is in your top of the ceiling. So you understand? Because they move away from the water to the land. So they can be hiding somewhere and they can cause effect. What happened to the structural integrity of the home? Yeah. Especially upstairs. There can be deformation, there can have deformation. Though deformation, you can see it, there will be crack, obvious crack. So it's going to affect the structure, the design structure. So they need to do integrity check, do a fumigation before you can move in. Other effect, no school is no Kogina, I don't think that there's school again. No school. No, there's no market, no business activity. So it has a lot of
economy.
So it's at a standstill. So
it's affected. Now.
Yes, a lot of things.
Okay, now to Mr. Enenemo.
Yes, I will want to. I'm an environmental health scientist. Yeah. I want to look at, if you give me that time, look at the health effects.
Yes.
Environmental ecological effects. Agricultural effects. Then, like my co-distortant has said, the economic effect. Let's look at the health effect. First and foremost, precious life has been lost through the process of drowning.
Yes.
A lot of persons got drowned, particularly those who could not. So people died. That's a major health effect. There's going to be a resurgence of pests, major pests, dangerous pests. I was made to understand how wild beasts, hippopotamus, and all other form of dangerous reptiles were washed from the large forests from this water down to town. People died from being bitten by snakes and all of that. Very recently, though it's still lucky, though we have fortified our surveillance activities and network. Very recently, Prof, there was this cholera outbreak in some part of Nigeria. Olo. Accessibility to potable water supply is going to be a major problem because groundwater has been polluted. Surface water, where we depend on, has also been polluted. I can go on and on and on of. It's very devastating and overwhelming. The level of health effect this portends to everyone. Now, on the social angle, we are going to experience a number of IDPs, internally displaced persons. People are going to, so a lot of social vices, a lot of slums will be created in the process. There's going to be even atmospheric pollution in the process. So it is a very serious. And then the damage already done to the ecosystem. That's another one. He talked earlier, the structural integrity. In fact, some of those buildings now, the walls are just waiting to be pushed.
Yes.
Just waiting to be pushed. I need that make anybody hand out to. So we are going to have, likely going to have more of, because those submerged buildings in that water, those in the flood, the structural integrity has become compromised.
Yeah.
Although I'm pained and I'm talking passionately about it. And you know what it takes now to put a structure, a physical structure, to have a shelter. A lot of valuables, properties have been destroyed, wasted in the flood. Because from what I learned in this area, people just wake up in the morning and find themselves inside. No time again to even carry on. You see the power, you see I don't know between water and fire, which one has power. I want to think water has more, because there's no, if there's fire outbreak, there could be fire brigade.
Yes.
But in the case of water, there's no water brigade. If I stand to be correct, the academia is here. The power of your control of water is when you have water inside your cup. Once the thing can become a very terrible master, has left. So it is a very, very serious. And then post-traumatic activities for flood victims, post-traumatic care is key, is crucial, is important. A lot of persons are going to come down with a number of even psychological trauma, and they need to be rehabilitated back to what it was to live their normal reproductive life. Okay? So, post-traumatic care. And then, let me add this. Anybody going into his house now, as the water, if the water starts to recede, should not go there during the night. He should go there in the broad daylight. Because there are new occupants there now.
Of course.
Don't be surprised. New occupants, even with a certificate of occupancy, they now own the place. So these occupants are either reptiles or other forms of
dangerous animals,
pests associated with human diseases, vectors of diseases. So apart from the fact that the walls and crevices of those structures have become a favorable opportunity for such favorable breeding opportunity for these dangerous animals, people should not enter. In fact, before you enter, make sure you bang the door, make some noise, and then look at those hidden corners and pour in some carbon inside so that they can come out. Ensure that there are sticks by you that readily comes handy. And make sure your doors are wide open so that confrontation should be the last option. Because you may not be able. And added to that, some electricity installation must have been breached. So don't put on your electricity immediately. I'm just talking about post-traumatic activities. Then we talked about water just now. There is the importance of water to man cannot be overemphasized. Now, water-related diseases they're going to be. We talked about cholera earlier. There's going to be. You have others like dysentery. You have others like typhoid. Okay. Then, if you have borehole in your premises, post flood activities, do not pump immediately to your tank. Pump and allow a good number of the quantity of water to run waste. Yes, you will be pumping contaminated water, which you will eventually use. So, a lot of water shortage disease will arise. A lot of waterborne disease will arise. A lot of water arthropod disease and water impounded disease will arise. Maybe time may not be able to make me start giving examples of all this, but post flood victim activities, as already highlighted, should be taken very, 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 very seriously. Relief materials by NEMA, National Emergency Management Agency, should cascade from the national level to the state level, and LEMA, which is SEMA, and then to LEMA at the local government level. Relief materials, because people have been traumatized. People have been rendered almost impotent. Some, maybe the clothes that they wore when they were trying to salvage their life was still what they have now. So relief material in terms of food, relief material in terms of building materials, and then such buildings whose structural integrity have been compromised should be reinforced with concrete ties, but where not feasible, such buildings, because prevention is not only better, but can be cheaper than cost. Such buildings should please be brought down for a construction of a new one.
Okay, now, Prof. Raf, do you feel our government has learned a lesson from this flooding, this current flooding in the year 2022. Do you feel our government has learned its lesson? And do you feel that they will actually go back to their drawing board to go find or look for measures to make sure in the nearest future things that like this doesn't happen?
I think section 14 or 44, I can't remember, of the 1999 Constitution talk about the welfare and security of our citizens as the responsibility of government. See, this issue of inland waterways, I said that, and I still insist that it's a federal government responsibility.
Okay.
So I'm not a federal government official, but I want to think that every leader who means well for his people should start thinking ahead now.
Okay.
Well, it was speculated. I want to use the word speculated because I'm using the word speculated now because the honorable minister, who is an official of government, during Suleiman Adamu, during a recent budget defense, actually said that there was no such MOU. I'm quoting him. It was read in news in this station that there was no MOU between Cameroon and Nigeria. He has checked and he has not found anyone. But now that this is not the situation we have found ourselves, I think we should start to look for measures, think of measures that if it means, because I was meant to understand that Cameroon started that dam 1977 or 1978, and completed as at 1982. Okay. So now that this thing is not the first time, you know, it's second time, not the third time, before the thing will overwhelm us, coupled with all other factors of climate change, sea level rise is there. If for any reason, there's sea level rise by 1 meter at the coastal Lagos area and some other area, the entire south and north can become submerged by 1 meter. Prof is a geographer, so he knows what I'm saying. If by 1 meter there's sea level rise, and what are we saying? The level of emission of the CFC gases follow global. We are still burning fossil fuel. Are there be any alternative now to renewable energy? You know there. So what I would say is that we should start to think of what to do to reduce the effect of the human anthropogenic activities, while we are also working on, like Prof said, building and constructing artificial lakes, constructing dams, dredging of the river, canals, dredging, very key, so that they can create space. All of them have been silted up. And then let's make the environment green again. Let's try and plant trees, flowers, reduce the level of concreting the surface areas, using interlocking ties. We are trying to be sophisticated. And you are forgetting that that thing you are doing, calling concrete and interlocking ties, make your house to increase the temperature, to become hot, increase the heat. Because as soon as the heat comes from the sun, it strikes on the concrete, and then heat expands. What do you find next? It has to spread.
Okay.
I don't think it was answering the question you asked.
He actually did.
I did.
He did in a way. He did.
That is the federal government.
Yes.
So what is the government doing?
No,
Yes.
It's the federal government.
You were saying that before I start, I want to call you one impression. I'm not a geographer.
Sorry.
I'm a surveyor and an engineer.
Okay.
So geographer and map reader. We produce the map.
Okay.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that do think that government learn from experiences? I don't think so. That's my view. Okay. This is not the first time. It happened in 2012. Then I was in Nigeria. What lesson did they learn that time? They did not do nothing. Now it happened again. So after when everything has finished, there's no more issue about flooding. The government will go to sleep.
Go back to seats.
To sleep. It is the same thing that happened to our roads. If human beings are not dying on the road, government don't seem to listen. They don't care. That's my view. If you care about our citizens, before now, we have been saying that this thing will happen. Let's plan towards it. And so we have the professionals. We're not going to oversee. to bring in experts. We have those people that are professionals in Nigeria that can help us solve this problem. But are we interested? No. No. Anything that, you see, the bourgeois, as we speak, are not affected. Those guys in Abuja don't have a problem of fraud. You understand? I was watching a video the other time. The Namalayi house was submerged in water. Yeah. I said, well, this is the one.
And our former president, Lord Jonathan.
Yes.
Was a victim.
You see, that side, data. I feel for them much, because I have lived with them. I stay with them. They stay naturally on top of water. Now this water now, and they stay naturally on top of water. You know, maybe bush somewhere. Now everywhere is taken. In fact, I was told that even grave, they have shallow grave there, but they won't remove this flood. You know, so assume grave. So that's so our government don't seem to learn from the predicament we are passing through. They don't seem to learn. If we are learning, if this thing has a solution, it can happen every year. It happened 10 years ago. We don't know when. We don't know how it will be next year. Next year, we don't know what to be next year. It is now that I have said, if they are serious, we will see them planning. It's okay. Let us fight this problem, because people are dying, people are losing their homes, they are losing their job. Even the road constructed by the same government, they are losing it. So these are the things. So I do not believe think that Nigerian government, no matter they don't have time to solve our problem. Now they're talking of election now. Nobody cares about what's happening. That's election. The election how to be in power. Emiloko and others. That's what they're thinking now. They're thinking how to solve the problem of erosion in Nigeria. As you have said, the flooding. What are those things we do? The sitting of our waterways.
Inland waterways.
What are they doing? No.
Dredging.
Yes, no. They're not doing it. Places like River Niger need to be dredged. If you dredge River Niger from maybe Dokoja to down to Focados, I guess maybe, you will see that large volume of water. It can take large volume of water. So one of the things they will do, that the volume of water coming in can absorb more volume of water. The volume of speed to the environment will be reduced. But they are not talking about that. If you dredge water from River Niger from Lokoja to Delta, the employment it will create is huge. So nobody is thinking of that. What they're thinking of that is the house to do rail from Katsina to Niger. They have nothing to do with me.
The human.
They have nothing to do with us.
Okay, now
Okay.
To Mr. Enenemo.
Yes, when we are talking of government now,
Yes.
Let's be more specific. Let's not make a blanket government thing. It is still, I still insist.
Federal government.
It's a federal government thing.
Yes.
You're talking of building rate from Katsina to Niger. Who is doing that? Is it those state government? Is it not? Is it not federal government? So it's a federal government. It's still a federal government.
Because
it's beyond the state, and these are items on the exclusive legislative list. Okay. So states cannot go and something that is cutting across all the states. Whose responsibility is supposed to be? And those states should go and solve what is happening. Okay,
now, Mr. Enenemo, we know that
so
as
that
a government official.
So that's why I want to give that clarification.
Yes.
That it has to be directed to the federal government.
We know it ought to be directed to the federal government, but as a government official, now you guys actually have access to information to know if the government up there, they are already planning to have situation to make sure that this thing doesn't happen again. Now, you get to
if there's anybody that has information, I think the media people have more access to information than myself. Okay. Because I'm just a small, not to be reckoned with. But you as media people, you have opportunity at your disposal to get access to information.
Okay, now, quickly, before we leave.
Excuse me, my friend. Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
If you are saying government, the federal government, state government. But in this state, they started what they call those state water storm.
Yes.
What happened? Is it the federal government? What happened? I said it here in this channel that it's not going to work. Which interviewed me, which said, "Are you a professor of dream?" I said, "No, I'm not a professor. It's not going to work because they did not do the needful at the beginning. Is it working now? I'm not suffering. I'm not flooding me. Is that our federal government?"
Well, I'm not competent to speak.
No, I'm taking no. You are a government man. You are a government man. I'm
speaking your own opinion.
No. This is exactly what happened. I told them that
it's not going to work.
I think we will have
a phase 2.
It is not working.
I said it would have been worse.
It's not working.
All right, gentlemen.
In a way, it has further helped to mitigate.
It is state government.
It has helped to
federal government.
mitigate.
All right, Prof. and Mr. Enenemo, yes. We will definitely have a phase 2 of this discussion. Quickly now, your last word for the commuters, the federal government, your last word for them. Mr. Enenemo.
Yes. Let us endeavor to recycle our waste.
Okay.
Let us not, the manner in which we dump our waste indiscriminately, at that individual level, can lead to a build-up. If the entire community does that, and flooding becomes an issue. Okay,
Prof.
Yeah, I think what has happened now. The next thing is the government should look at how. Let me say federal government, because you're
yes, no, that's the proper way to say.
Quickly,
federal government should
do the needful
so that this won't happen anymore.
Okay. All right, federal government should do the needful in order for millions and thousands not to be affected by flooding in our country, Nigeria. It might not be you, it might not be me, but so many other persons are affected out there. So I'll be seeing you again next week for another exciting time on Flipside. Do have yourself a blessed day. Bye for now.